Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Joel TFD here. Welcome back at again with a brand new episode of the Galaxy Warrior Lore podcast. I'm generally excited to give you guys this video, this podcast episode. I'm generally excited about it because it's been a while. It's been since July, I'm pretty sure, since I did the first episode of this podcast, and I'm here bringing a new one to you guys. I just thought I'd let you guys know that I am still currently writing the final story. Actually, I think I'm in the middle of the movie, honestly, when it comes to that story. So definitely stay tuned, because I think I might pull these out maybe once every 2 months or once every month, honestly, because since I'm in the final story, there's like two more before the final story. So definitely stay tuned for those. But I'm really excited because again, it's been a while, honestly, and I'm really excited to show you guys this story because I feel like this is one of my favorite stories that I've written, honestly. And before we head straight into that, I just want to say really quickly that make sure when you are listening to this that you guys put this in your perspective. Like, you're the main character, and for example, like when my two best friends in the movie, there's Verno and Nick. Make sure you put like two of your best friends, honestly, in their positions in some type of way, because I always want this to be more of like, obviously, what my story is and everything, but I want you guys to get like a better idea of it when it comes to you being the main character and then also your best friends being there, honestly. So I'm generally excited to show you guys this story, but before we do, just thought I'd explain to you guys the original story. So for this one, it's called Joel's Adventures, Rise of Maglio. And Maglio, is backstory is basically that he's from the same planet as the big bad guy that shows up in the end of this not the end of the movie, but the end of the phase, pretty much. And I should probably drink some water, honestly, because I'm a little bit thirsty at the moment. But basically, with his backstory, like, he's from Devil Tar, that planet, and he's with Dark Striker, basically, and Dark Striker sends him to Earth to basically stop Joel from doing whatever he's doing and everything, to get some intel about him and everything. But soon to find out that he's actually wanting to control the planet for his own, and we're gonna straight into that. But with the old story, actually, of this is that Maglio was actually called Magmel in the original story, and the reason why that name sounds familiar is because back in the day when I was little, I took inspiration from Bakugan, actually, and this was actually supposed to be called the Bakugan War, actually. And I thought it was pretty cool, honestly, because I remember writing this story on a notebook, but I lost that notebook a long time ago, so I'm kind of heated that I lost it, honestly. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, not necessarily glad, but like, I'm grateful that I still kind of remember the story on top of my head, honestly. And obviously, with this new adaptation, I try to kind of give it that same feel, honestly, but I also had to go extra deep into it. I feel like when it comes to these like stories and everything, I try to go extra deep with it a little bit so that I can get like a better understanding of the story. And also, when I officially write these scripts and everything in the future, I definitely have like a better understanding of how I want to write them and everything. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this, honestly. Again, thank you guys so much for the support you guys gave the first episode. Honestly, it's really amazing. And now we're gonna head straight into the original, I mean, not the original, sorry, the movie adaptation of this, honestly. So I'm gonna pull out the note on my phone, actually. So for Subnosis, really quickly, we're gonna go straight into it. The unknown figure sends Maglio on a mission to stop Joel after finding a dark silicone. He uses his newly refounded powers to destroy the city and kill Joel for himself. Alright, I don't know why I just paused there, honestly, but we're gonna go ahead straight into the movie adaptation. And I'm sorry, there might be a little bit cut in like 6 minutes, and that's because I have an alarm, honestly, for my clothes, so I'll probably get that after I record this, honestly. But here we go. It starts in the planet Dovatar with a professor in Dovatar making a dark silicone and shooting it off to the sky, but it doesn't successfully work. A coworker shows up and tells the professor that he may have found a solution to transport the dark silicones. The professor looks at a video demonstration of an energy piece going inside the system they have and it being a success. The coworker tells him that Cytonian silicone works because a bit of their planet's energy. So in order for them to succeed, they'll have to grab a bit of the planet's energy. The professor then tells the coworker that Dothan is planning to attack Cytonian, so the coworker decides to call in one of his side warriors to go with Dothan. While the battle was going on in Cytonian, the warrior then finds the energy source of the Cytonian planet and fights his way to get enough energy. He then teleports himself back to Davaltar to the professor, and the professor is surprised his teleporter worked. Then he finally gets the energy and puts it with the silicone, creating the first dark silicone. Then he teleports the silicone far away and is gone, but he gets a timer of when the dark silicone is supposed to hit, and it shows a couple of months from now. Then the unknown figure tells the professor if he figured anything out. Then the professor tells him yes. Then the unknown figure tells him that he received news that his father didn't make it, so he will need some energy. Then the professor tells him of course, and tells him about the dark silicone that was sent far away. Then Maglio shows up next to the unknown figure and is interested in the dark silicone. And that's when the title card appears. Joel's Adventures, The Rise of Maglio. And now we're going to head straight into this. Before I do, let me take a sip of water. Hydration is important. I just dropped my cap. Alright, here we go. People from space are keeping track of the atmosphere and realize that something is coming down to Earth and tells people from back at Earth. The people back in Earth get a timer of when the meteor is supposed to strike down. They find out it will land in the next 24 hours and they try to get ready at the spot it will most likely land at. Nick is seen building his new gaming setup, and Verno comes in with a box full of stuff, and Verno tells him that his new location for streaming stuff is pretty cool. Then Nick thanks him and tells him that now that he's been getting 3 times the numbers from the last couple of months, that he was able to make pretty much of a living off of it and really upgrade his setup. Verno then gets a text from someone and Nick makes fun of him and says if it's his girlfriend, and Verno said that it isn't. Verno then says he will be back, then Nick says that he'll call someone else. Verno then rides his bike to the place, but then sees a building on fire and a person swooping in, taking a person out of the building, and it's Joel. Verno then smiles and continues riding his bike, and the news anchor shows up to the civilian and asks how did you get out, and the civilian is confused and says that someone saved her. The anchor then says that it's not possible that someone did. Then Verno shows up and says that it was him and his crew, which is Marcus and Julian. The civilian says it was you, and Verno says yes, that his team went in the burning building and managed to get her and other people out. Then the news anchor says Verno and his force have saved another civilian yet again. While the TV is on and Joel gets back to his little house, he is smiling at the fact that Verno and his crew is getting recognition again for deeds Joel has been doing. Joel then continues his meditation to find his planet, but then he senses something coming and his phone starts ringing and he grabs it. Joel arrives to the mayor's house and then the mayor tells him that something is coming to the planet and he's not 100% sure what it is. Joel then tells the mayor that if he can finally intervene. The mayor tells him not to because they don't want the public to freak out if Joel ends up being discovered again, even after the events of the last movie. Joel then hesitates a bit and says okay, but then says that there has to be something he has to do. Then the mayor tells him that for now he doesn't. Then the mayor gets a call from a sergeant and tells him that he must come to his location right now. And the mayor says why, and the sergeant says that it had to do with the meteor that struck 30 years ago. Then the mayor looks at Joel and then tells him okay, he'll be there in a few. The mayor then tells Joel to go back to his little place. Then Joel asks where the mayor is going, and the mayor said that it's about his family. Then Joel says that he hopes everything is fine with them and leaves. The sergeant welcomes the mayor to the building and the mayor asks where is it. Then the sergeant brings him to the spot and it's a dark looking orb and it keeps glowing, and the sergeant tells the mayor that it started glowing faster than normal. Then the mayor says it could be because of the meteor that's coming here. The sergeant says that they can't judge if the meteor is an issue because of that. Then the mayor hesitates a little bit, but the sergeant interrupts him a bit and says that he will have to get the higher ups for this. Then the mayor says not to, that he has someone in mind that can help. The sergeant says who out of all people. The mayor takes a deep breath. Nick is streaming at his new setup and is telling everyone that he has started to change up his style a bit, but then he gets a comment saying where's the space talks segments, and everyone in the comics start agreeing with the person, and Nick says hesitantly that he's doing some research and that he will have that segment up in a future stream. Then everyone is having mixed opinions of it. Then cops show up at his house and then he starts asking who the hell swatted him again. Then the mayor shows up and tells his officers to shut down the internet and the stream goes off, and then Nick sees the mayor and says oh shit. Then the mayor asks Nick for a favor and Nick says for what? Nick is caught up about what is happening with the dark silicone, and the mayor tells him that he just needs someone to be a cover-up for gathering intel about the dark-looking orb. That was an alarm, guys. Sorry. Nick is a little hesitant and fronts his emotions and says, yeah, I can do that, no problem. The mayor then says thank you and leaves. The mayor then tells Nick that he will give him a check for all the help. Then Nick takes a deep breath and gets a flashback of the last movie and says, why did he agree? Verno and his force are in a warehouse and they talk about a possible new name for them, saying that Verno wants to give credit to everyone else besides him. Julian then says that only online people are theorizing the warrior that was here a year ago was still here, that they are cover-ups. Marcus says to Verno how come he doesn't show up. Verno tells them that it'll be too dangerous. Julian tells them that a meteor is going to strike, so it's best they go there so they can get a better glimpse. Verno then agrees and they all agree to go to it once it lands. Joel is still meditating to find his planet, but an interference happens, and it's the meteor. So then Joel's caught up with trying to go and check it out or stay behind. The meteor is about to hit the planet, and the scientists and Nick is already on the site with the sergeants. Then the meteor finally hits where they anticipated where it would land. The sergeants get close to the meteor and find bits of stuff. Nick is at the office and sees the dark-looking orb flickering a lot more than usual. Then one of the sergeants fly off, and the sergeants are confused, and then another flies off, and then a random figure is shown, and the sergeants get closer, and an orb is shot to them. And the sergeants start shooting the figure, but the figure ends up killing most of them. And Nick is scared as fuck, but still tries to pay attention to the orb, trying to figure out what is happening. The figure then creates an orb to throw at the lab, but Joel arrives and stops it. Then Joel says, who are you? Then the figure says, where is the dark silicone? Joel then says, what do you mean dark silicone? Maglio then makes a huge orb and says, you didn't even know, weakling, and then throws the orb at Joel and knocks him out. Maglio then tries to hunt for the orb in the area. Nick is seeing that the orb is rapidly flashing and calls the mayor down. The mayor answers the call and Nick explains that the orb is flashing. The mayor then tries to go to it, but as soon as that happens, Joel gets up and sees the mayor. You still don't need me? Joel says angrily. The mayor said, yeah, sorry about that. Joel then flies to Maglio and tries to punch him, but Maglio manages to hold his punch and bring him to the floor. Mayor gets to Nick and Nick tells him that the orb is flashing rapidly. Mayor says that whoever the other person is probably from their planet. Verno then gets there with his co-workers and calls out Nick. Then Nick says, oh shit, and drops stuff in the computer. Then the mayor looks both ways and is failing all over the place. Joel and Maglio keep fighting, and then Maglio grabs Joel and tells him that he will find the dark silicone and that next time he won't get in his way. Maglio then flies away and the orb starts flashing slower. Nick says that it's definitely from his planet. Then Verno asks the mayor why Nick is here. The mayor tells Verno that he needed Nick and Verno defends Nick, and Verno defends Nick about his fear of space. Then Nick says that he doesn't have to defend him, Joel looks at the ground and is trying to put two together. Then he sees the mayor, Nick and Verno talking, and sees the dark silicone that Maglio was talking about. Joel then talks to himself, saying that he remembers seeing something from similar in his planet. Then a flashback happens of when Edwin was talking to one of his friends about a dark silicone and that no one should wield such power. Joel then flies to the mayor. Verno then explains to Nick that he doesn't want him involved in this, that it could ruin the possibility of Joel being exposed to the public, that it's their responsibility in the first place. The mayor then tells Verno that the reason they set that order is in fact because of that, but it was their choice to bring in Nick. Verno then tells the mayor that he didn't agree because of the mayor. He's doing it because of Joel. Joel is then there and asks the mayor how did he get the silicone. The mayor tells him that it wasn't him, that it was people that were here 30 years ago who found it. Joel then mentions why he didn't bother telling him. The mayor said we weren't 100% sure if it was from your planet or not. Joel says that no one should have it because it holds a stronger power that no one should wield. Joel then tells them that his father told that to someone back in his planet. Verno then asks, what are we going to do with it then? Joel then recommends possibly putting it in a different planet so that the humans don't get hurt, that he's going to go back to his little place and figure out where and flies off. Verno is then looking at the silicone while Joel explains that and decides to leave with his crew. Nick then asks the mayor for a ride, that his streaming got him a house but not a car. Maglio gets to a certain hole and tries to get in contact with his master, but he doesn't have enough signal to reach him. He then activates a voice recording and mentions that he has finally located the dark silicone, that he will return it to him, but then he interrupts himself, and then he says, maybe not, and closes the voice recording, and says to himself that he will use it for his own to be able to destroy the city so he can prove to his master that he is worthy enough to be a leader. Verno and his crew are back in the warehouse and they talk about the dark silicone being there. Julian asks in general that why would the mayor and the government hide something like that to the figure. Then Marcus tells him that it could be because we don't know how the figure would react to it. Then he can go on in a whole rampage. Verno then says he feels like there's something missing out about the dark source. Julian then says that he's going to go home because his dog has an appointment in the morning. Marcus says he's just really tired. Then Verno says, alright, y'all are free. Then they leave. Verno then decides there and looks at a picture of him and Nick when they were kids. Flashback moment. Mrs. Bauer tells the kids to sit with their partners for a project they're going to do, and Verno is looking for someone and he sees Nick's and he goes up to him and asks to be partners. And he agrees. Then as they grow older they get really close, and as they get into high school they start drifting a little bit but still manage to keep in touch. But then they decide that it's best they should move in together for college. Then they start going on trips together and they still having a lot of fun together while still managing for college. They then hear about a piece of something from space coming from a different world and it's unknown, and that's when their love for space started. Then a couple of months later, that's when they saw Joel coming. The flashback ends. Verno then realizes that he was meant for this and gets his bike and starts going to the dark source. Joel is seen at his little hole and pacing around and is trying to figure out how a dark silicone got here on this planet ages before him. Then he decides to meditate or try to communicate with his father, but something interrupts him, and he sees a vision of an army attacking Earth. Then he gets scared and then wants to try to get to the dark silicone as soon as possible so that Maglio doesn't harness it. Nick arrives home and wants to stream but is completely worn out from the research. While he gets to his bed, he drops a couple of papers to the ground and says, "Fucking shit," and it seemed a lot closer to me. Then he sees a page about the mysterious cone, and he realizes a key detail. He reads as he skims through it. Some speculate that this object came from the other side of the galaxy from a planet called Cytonian. Nick then says, wait, if this was written in a period when Joel never existed, that means someone else was here before Joel. Oh shit, I gotta tell Joel. He then leaves his house to find Joel. Verno arrives at the dark silicone and tries to see if there's any files. Then a portal shows up and it's one of the sergeants from earlier. Verno is confused because how can he be able to teleport here? But then the sergeant turns into Maglio. Verno then gets scared a bit but decides to grab a weapon nearby him and says that he has to stop him somehow. Maglio is getting closer to the dark silicone but then Verno screams stop. Maglio then turns around slowly and tells Verno that the object he's holding isn't going to do anything to him. Verno then says, I don't give a shit, that you're going to be stopped by Joel. Maglio then raises his head a bit tilted and slowly mentions Joel. That's the random figure that's in the planet. I knew someone from Cytonian was here. Verno asks if he's not from the same planet. Maglio says no, that he's from a planet called Deviltar, from the Doom Dimension. Verno then says, shockingly, Doom Dimension? Maglio then sits down and tells Verno that it took him so many days to get to this planet to harness the dark silicone. The mayor is sitting at his desk reading papers about what he can do with the silicone, and then Joel appears and tells the mayor that he has to move it immediately. The mayor then says that we can't. Joel then slams the desk and screams at the mayor that he has to. The mayor slowly gets up and tells him that he can't move it yet because people are going to come tomorrow to see it, and if they see it's gone, they will speculate that Joel is still here. Then Joel backs from the desk and paces around. The mayor then gets an alarm and it's Maglio with Verno. Joel then asks what happened and the mayor tells Joel it's Verno in the figure. Then Joel says shit and he leaves to save Verno. Maglio tells Verno that his plan and he was always under the wing of his master, that he's always following his master's orders, that his mission was to grab the dark silicone and bring it to him. Verno then says why follow his orders? You can change yourself and become a leader, become a person that can choose your own path in life. Verno then tells Maglio that he has been together with his girlfriend and that he has a child on the way. He was always that guy that was friends with Nick, and as much as I was there for him, I just needed some time to myself. You can do the same. Maglio then tells Verno that he already had. He then mentions how long ago he was sent to get the dark silicone. The only way he was able to was to wait till his master did the attack on Cytonian. Verno then asks why wait. Maglio then mentions that the reason why he waited was because the silicone didn't arrive yet. He had other plans with his master. And then the flashback happens as he talks. Like I said earlier, I was always under his wing, but then the unknown figure mentioned that he would need the energy now, but one day he will. And then the day when he attacked Cytonian came, he sent another figure here that didn't know anything about the silicone. Verno then says, ultimate player, and Maglio snaps his fingers and says yes. Then Maglio mentions that he wanted the silicone power for himself to give him power. And the flashback ends. That's when I realized I don't have to, that I can just harness it myself. Maglio then touches the silicone and Verno screams stop and the silicone starts glowing rapidly and then Maglio says it's too late. And then Verno decides to run to him but an energy pushes him away back way too far, and then Joel shows up and catches him and tells Verno to get out. And then Maglio looks at Joel and tells him that it's too late. Then Joel uses his energy to stop him, but the energy gets pushed back. Verno then gets up and tries to press the button, but then Maglio uses the dark energy and grabs him and tells him that he is sorry that he won't be able to see his child grow. Then Joel screams stop and tries to get to Verno, but he is too slow, and Verno ends up with his neck cracked. And then Joel grabs him and tries to sense a pulse. Then Maglio looks back at the silicone, and Joel gets super pissed. You will fucking pay. And he zooms to Maglio, and Joel senses something. Then a bright light happens, and Maglio is gone, and so is the dark silicone. Nick is still on his way to get to Joel, but then he sees a dark orb nearby, and it's the figure from earlier. Then he gets scared and hides behind the nearest object that is hideable. Nick then realizes that he has the silicone. Joel gets to Verno and tries to revive him, but he can't. Joel gets super emotional and tries to revive him, but the best he can, but he can't process. The mayor is just looking at all of this happening through his monitor back at his place. Joel then gets up and shoots an energy orb at the studies, and the mayor yells, "No!" Joel then is breathing heavily and is having a little panic attack and getting flashbacks of seeing his father get stabbed. The mayor then tells Joel to come back, and Joel looks up to the camera the mayor is talking with, and Joel yells at him and says that he should have just been public. The mayor says, "No, Joel, it's too risky." Joel then yells at the mayor and says, "Risky? One of the closest humans that I've been with has been killed, and you think that me going public is risky?" The mayor then tells Joel that the world will panic if they knew you were here. Joel then tries to get out, but the mayor puts a lockdown on the facility and apologizes to Joel. Joel then screams at the top of his lungs. Maglio is still absorbing the dark silicone and his mind is wandered off. Nick is looking at Maglio a little closer and says that he's surprised he hasn't sensed him. Nick then gets a little closer to the dark silicone and it touches him a little bit, and Nick mentally goes to a different place and sees a different world. Nick is wandering around, but then a warrior shows up in front of him. Nick is confused because he feels like he recognizes the warrior, and then the warrior says that he has to search for a future, and then senses Nick, and then he turns around, but before he reveals his face, Nick gets back into reality and realizes that the silicone is gone, that Maglio is floating with a dark aura surrounding him. Nick says, "Oh shit." Maglio is in his mental space and gets a vision of the city under his control, and Maglio laughs maniacal and sucks up the aura and zooms past Nick. Nick then asks if Joel hasn't sensed that. The mayor is in the office and is trying to uncover some stuff, but then he sees Nick in the front door and he quickly puts everything away and opens the door. Nick asks if he has seen Joel. The mayor says that Joel's off-world. Nick then says, "What? That the figure's about to do something bad, that he has the dark silicone, and that he absorbed it and he doesn't know what he has planned." Joel is pacing and trying to figure out a way to get out by throwing paper sources, but he can't seem to break it. He then breaks down and is trying to calm down, but then he tries to meditate, but he can't seem to connect. But then he saw a little piece of the silicone left behind, and then he sees it was scratched by the weapon choice Verno had. Flashback to Verno throwing the object earlier. Joel then tries to meditate again using the silicone, and it starts glowing dark, and Joel get into the mind. He then sees his dad is there looking at the house he grew up in a white place. Joel calls out his dad, and his dad says that the world is not the same anymore. Joel tells his dad that he seems lost of what he's capable of, and then his dad says not to, that he trained Joel for this exact reason. Joel then says he'll never be as powerful as you, and his dad says, well, that might be true, but I believe you can be stronger than me. Joel says, how? His dad then says that he was fighting with Joel's grandpa. He's met enemies that he never thought he could beat, but his grandpa always reminded him that he was here for a reason, to be the best version of yourself, using the battle experience to get stronger and push yourself to your fullest. Joel then agrees with that. The silicone that Joel is holding back in the lab starts glowing white instead of dark. Joel then tells his dad that he still hasn't located the planet, and his dad says that it's okay, that soon you'll be able to. Joel then agrees and goes back to his regular body. The mayor and Nick are trying to figure out how to stop Maglio, and Nick says to him that he's thinking so unrealistic about this. Joel needs to get here now. Then Nick sees that the mayor's hiding something, and he sees the screen and it's Joel and Verno in the barrier. Joel then sees Verno on the ground and says that he will continue for him and to stop Maglio once and for all. Nick is questioning the mayor what happened to Verno, and the mayor tells him that he doesn't know. And Nick gets heated at him and screams at him and tells him that this is all his fucking fault and that he lied to Nick about Joel being off planet. Joel gets up and uses the white silicone and absorbs the energy, and he starts glowing. Nick looks back at the screen and is astonished about Joel's new look, and he decides to tell the mayor to watch out. And then the mayor asks what Nick is doing near the computer, and Nick mentions that he's a streamer after all. Then Nick closes the barrier, and Joel sees it opening, and Nick tells Joel that he's got you. The mayor says that we can't risk Joel being out there, and then Nick says it's over to be hiding in the shadows. Clearly this world needs a protector, and Joel's the only one who can stop this evil force from happening. Maglio is out there doing God knows what. Maglio is out of planet Earth and looking down on it, and then he mentions that he will finally do what is right for himself and finally be the person he was meant to be. Then he releases a dark barrier around the city. He then mentions he has to get rid of one person, and that's Joel. Holographic people show up and start causing havoc around the city. The mayor says that he can stop this without Joel, that he pulls out a weapon threatening Nick and tells him that all his life he has been trying to finish his great-grandfather's research about the Cytonians, that he has so much to learn from sealers, admins, paladins, so many beings in this one singular universe. Nick then says that maybe there was a reason why his great-grandfather stopped doing the research in the first place. The mayor then gets mad and starts going for Nick, and then Joel overheard everything and he senses that Nick is in danger and skims through the sky, gets to the mayor's home and knocks him out. Nick screams like a girl and Joel says sorry and looks at himself like he really just went that quick. The TV is on and the news anchor is telling everyone to stay put in their houses because an army of holographic people are destroying the city named for a person named Joel. Maglio then says, Joel, where are you? It's time for you to show up. Marcus and Julian show up to fight the holograms, and the holograms say, where is Joel? And Julian says that he doesn't know, and then the hologram grabs him and throws him to the side, and Marcus says that he had a dog, and then they both run away from the hologram. They then hide in a store nearby and talk with the store manager because the manager is a big fan of them and their work defending the city. Marcus asks if he has a pencil. The store manager says that he does, but why does he need it? Then Marcus says that he's going to use it to stop the hologram. He then grabs it and throws it, and the store manager slaps his head and says, well, we're fucked. I thought you guys were a lot smarter. Joel then apologizes to Nick, and Nick says, why is he apologizing? Joel then tells Nick that it wasn't fast enough to stop Maglio from killing Verno. Nick says to Joel that although he's heard about it, that it's not right to time to apologize. The world needs him the most right now. Then Nick mentions he meant everything he said to the mayor, and Joel nods his head into agreement. Then Nick says that it's time that we get out of these shadows. Joel then forms a fist and says, yeah, it is time. Then he skims through the sky and sees the city, and the holograms stop and look at Joel. Joel then screams, Maglio, you wanted me? Now I'm here. The citizen then look up, and Joel and everyone starts saying that that's the figure from before. Maglio then says that he's finally come out the shell, and then Joel senses him and looks straight at his direction. Maglio then says to come get him, and then Joel zooms to him, and they block each other's attacks, and Maglio tells Joel that he is impressively got stronger, and Joel tells Maglio that this will be for Verno, and that they will fight for like a minute straight in the air, and then Maglio ground pounds Joel to the ground, and Maglio zooms to him. Let me drink water, because I am thirsty. Anywho, the mayor wakes up, but he's tied up in the chair, and he asks why he's tied up, and then Nick is seen setting up the mayor's computer in the other side, and the mayor says, what are you doing? Nick puts down the mouse and goes up to him and tells him that he always had a dream, a point where he always said, how can I get bigger? How can I get better? And then grabs the mouse again and brings it up to the mayor and says, with the click of this button, shit's going to be through the roof. The mayor then tells you set up one of my fucking bombs. You'll know you'll be a criminal. You fucking piece of shit. I should have never brought you along. Nick says, but I wouldn't be able to do this. And Nick grabs the duct tape and covers the mayor's mouth and goes back to the mouse, and the mayor is screaming so much, and there is a close-up of Nick pressing the mouse button, and there is an intense back-to-back moment, and then Nick says, hey guys, welcome back to another stream. The mayor then is in relief. Nick then says, I finally have something to talk about in my Space Pod podcast. We're going to show and tell a good friend of mine named Joel. The mayor opens his eyes very wide and starts shaking his head. No. Joel and Maglio continue fighting, but Joel gets knocked on the ground, and two of the Dark Minions show up, and Joel fights them and uses one of the moves he used in the first movie. Then three more warriors show up and throws an orb mid-air, and then he gets up and taps the top of it with his foot and rolls around with it, and throws it all three of them. Then he sees Maglio forming the dark orb, and Joel skims through, and Maglio throws the orb, and Joel's hands start glowing and destroys the orb, and Maglio gets hit hard and gets knocked out. Nick's stream chat is watching the fight with Joel go down and also talk about how Maglio got knocked the fuck out. Nick then sees the comment that asked, is this the same warrior from last year? He reads it out loud. He then looks at the mirror, and the mirror is nodding his head no as he's trying to say, but don't say anything. Nick then has a flashback of him and Verno when he gave the news he was moving. And then the flashback happens. Nick tells Verno that he's moving out, and Verno gets really excited, and Verno tells him, crazy how when Joel came in our lives, Nick interrupts him and says, "You act like he's our kid," and they both laugh. Reno continues saying, "Imagine where we can finally tell the world about Joel. It'll low-key be cool." And Nick says, "Yeah, it would be 100%. Shit, I'd make a whole stream about it." Reno then says that this stream stuff really putting you places. Don't ever stop, especially if people want to see a different outcome in your life. The flashback ends. Nick then says he manifested this moment. A good friend of his reminded him that to keep going. Then he explains to his audience that he was scared to talk about stuff because of the events of last year, but now he feels like he's done hiding this dark side and finally being genuine about it. The mayor then starts yelling and Nick looks at him and says, "Yeah, it is him." The mayor puts his head down like saying, "Fuck, you really just said it." Nick then continues saying that he was the hero that stopped Ultimate Player, that he will stop Maglio. Joel and Maglio continues fighting and Maglio says that Joel will never be able to defeat him, but Joel interrupts his speech and knocks him down and says that this will be over sooner than later. Then Maglio gets up slowly and Joel zooms to him and uppercuts him. Maglio says that this is impossible, that he is getting stronger every punch that Joel throws. Maglio then blocks one of Joel's attacks and tells him that he will not ruin this chance of him finally being out of his master's shadow. Joel then says, "Well, master," and Maglio says that he will one day strike and realize that this planet was already in my hands. Joel then uses an orb to push Maglio, and Maglio uses a dark orb to push, and they slowly start separating, and Joel starts getting the advantage and breathes and tells Maglio let him come, and he uses a lot of his energy, and Maglio then goes down and the energy flows through space. The holograms start disappearing and the citizens are cheering slowly. Nick's stream is over 100k views and Nick is happy he's getting this much attention. The chat is going crazy, saying that Joel is insane and that one is saying he is cracked and the mayor is disappointed. Joel is floating in the sky and the cheers start getting louder and he looks at the citizens and the citizens start saying thank you. Joel then salutes to them and leaves to go to Nick. Joel gets to Nick and Nick is ending his stream by saying, "This wraps up the Space Pod podcast. Thank you for tuning in." And he ends the stream and the mayor is still in disbelief and Nick rips out of the duct tape. The mayor screams and he says, "This is illegal what you did, Nick." Joel quickly moves the rope in the chair. "You're basically a criminal." The police then gets to the mayor's house and the mayor asks to get Nick and they start arresting the mayor and the mayor asks why are they arresting him, and then one of the cops pull out the knife that the mayor had that he used to threaten Nick and they mention that he threatened to kill a person. Then the mayor says you have no proof. Nick then says otherwise and recorded the part when he got threatened. The mayor then gets mad and leaves the place. The cops then tell Joel, "Thank you for saving the city again." Joel says thank you to them instead for not making him feel like he's any different. Fast forward and we're at the funeral of Verno's and Verno's girlfriend is giving a speech. Verno was a fighter. He always knew that if something wasn't going right, he would do anything to make it right. She then breaks down. "I know he's at peace now." So then rubs her belly and goes down. She then rubs her belly and goes down and time passes by, and Nick is there looking down at his grave. Joel then comes next to Nick and Joel asks if he is okay, and Nick says yeah. It's crazy that it's been a week, and Joel says yeah. If there's one thing I learned from Bruno is that you always have to have a right to fight for what's your best. And Nick says that's true. I just wish I could tell him that I really admired his fighter spirit, that it was never taken for granted. Joel then says that it showed it wasn't taken for granted. Nick then nods his head in agreement. Joel then looks at the sky and says that someday he will find his home planet and try to reconnect with his people. He then looks back down and says that his adventure isn't over. And then we head to the credits. The post-credit being the unknown figure sees a person coming in and says that the others are here. And they tell the unknown figure it is time for them to go. And the unknown figure says that he needs to know where that power came from. And one of the figures said it came from Earth. Then the unknown figure says that's impossible. And then Miguel, one of the warriors, says that we would have to go to Earth to stop this or get a scan of the planet so you can arrive, master. Then the unknown figure says, "You may go, attackers." Then the 6 warriors show up and they fly away. And then in the end credit scene, Ultimate Player is seen going through space, but then realizing that the planet is still very alive and sees the attackers teleport and tries to find out who sent them elsewhere. And that is the story of Joel's Adventures, Rise of Maglio. I actually have to get the series. Now thinking about it, I forgot. Honestly, I think that's it right here. Yep, the series adaptation. So I have to head straight into the series adaptation now. But honestly, I think this is one of my favorite projects, honestly, when it comes to the all five, honestly, because I really went extreme into detail with this one. And not that I didn't go extreme into detail with the other ones, it's mostly like I really like the message behind it, you know, it's like kind of embracing that like dark side of you, you know, like kind of like being able to be like, okay, like, yeah, I know I have some problems of my own, but I'm gonna embrace it and become better than I intend to be, you know. And I'm really, really proud of that, honestly. Anyway, so with this arc, actually, since it's under the same series of the first Galaxy Warrior, it's like the second arc. So we're starting with like episode 13 called A New Warrior in Town. Another meteor strikes into Earth and everyone is trying to figure out if it's from Joel's planet or not. Episode 14 is called The Dark Silicone. Joel tells the government that the dark story about the silicones and how the dark silicone is dangerous. Episode 15 is Dangerous Attempt. Verno tries to look for Maglio himself after learning what the dark silicone could do. Episode 16 is It's called Maglio. Maglio's past revealed of how he became the person that he is today. Episode 17 is called Search for Verno. Joel and the cops, along with Nick, try to find Verno and try to find out the reason what happened. And then episode 18, Risks. After finding Verno, Joel tries to stop Maglio, but someone close to Joel gets in the crossfire trying to help him. And then episode 19 is called Verno. Verno's backstory is revealed and Nick deals with him in the hospital. Episode 20 is Reassurance. Nick deals with the loss of Verno and he goes in a little journey of trying to get some reassurance. Joel also deals with Verno's loss by talking with his father. Episode 21 is called Unlock. Joel tries to unlock a power that he can barely control by a silicone that the government found. Maglio finds out with his power he can make an army. Episode 22, Nick's backstory is revealed and he talks with his family that he wasn't as close to find the key parts of going through Verno's death. Episode 23 is called Maglio's Presence. Maglio's army starts building up and Joel and the rest try to see if they could stop him before it gets bigger. And then episode 24 is called The Hero Once Again. Joel finally fights Maglio into an all-out war. And that's basically this episode of the Galaxy Warrior Lore podcast. Again, I really love this story, honestly. Obviously, in the series, we go into more into depth about the backstories and everything, and I really like the movie. Again, like, I really like it because the more about embracing that, like, stuff that's really deep hidden in you, you know, that people find, like, kind of, you know, it's, like, more embracing that, like, dark side of you, if that makes sense, and I genuinely really like the idea of doing that. Excuse me, sorry, I did not mean to burp there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy, honestly. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Again, I'm going to try my best to get these episodes out maybe once a month or once every 2 months, honestly. So definitely stay tuned. Anywho, peace out, everyone, guys. So enjoy your day. Make everything nice today. Everyone stay positive and be positive. If you guys have any questions, definitely comment down below. I'll be down to answer them. Peace out, everyone, guys. So enjoy your day. Make everything nice today. Everyone stay positive and be positive. You guys already know to have a positive mindset. Peace.